You're going to like these 3 surreal stories.
Flight 237 shuddered as the seatbelt sign chimed and the overhead bins rattled. Kathleen gripped the armrest and whispered that something wasn't normal. Jeff didn't look up from his tablet and told her they'd say something if it was serious. The plane jolted again. A baby cried. A flight attendant reached for a water bottle rolling off her cart. Then the world went silent. Not quiet, silent. The engine roar vanished. The air conditioning hum vanished. Even the baby's cry cut off mid-sound. Kathleen's stomach lifted as her shoulders floated away from the seat, her hair drifting upward like she was underwater. Jeff whispered that this wasn't normal. The water bottle rose between them, droplets hanging in the aisle like beads of glass. A pen spun near the ceiling. The safety pamphlet drifted free. They were weightless. Passengers floated in their seats, held only by belts. A flight attendant clung to the cart, frozen mid-word. Kathleen turned toward the window and felt her breath catch. The sky was gone. A dark gray spiral pulsed outside, slow and massive, bending light around it. It wasn't clouds or storm. It was a vortex of nothing, swallowing color at its edges. Her ears popped, her vision tunneled. Then gravity slammed back. The water bottle hit the floor and droplets splattered. People gasped. Someone screamed. The baby resumed crying mid-breath. The engine roar returned like it had never left. The captain's voice came over the speakers, calm and steady, saying they'd hit a brief pocket of turbulence and there was no cause for concern. Kathleen stared at the window. The vortex was gone, just blue sky. She told Jeff he saw it. He nodded, pale. Landing was too smooth, like the wheels had been waiting for them. Passengers clapped. Kathleen didn't. Her legs felt wrong when she stood, light, delayed, like her weight lagged behind her steps. They entered the jet bridge. Phones refused to load messages. No signal. No notifications. They stepped into the terminal, surrounded by fluorescent lights, announcements, and the smell of old coffee. Then a man pushing a luggage cart walked straight toward them. Jeff stepped aside and tried to speak, but the cart passed through his legs. His thighs flickered like a glitching video before snapping back into shape. Kathleen grabbed his wrist. He was solid and warm. A woman from their flight waved at someone across the hall, but the man she waved at didn't react. A child ran to his father and passed straight through him. The father didn't flinch. The boy spun around, terrified, calling for him. No one turned. Panic spread through the passengers of Flight 237. People shouted for help. No one responded. A woman grabbed a TSA agent's sleeve and her hand slid through like smoke. Kathleen felt her breath quicken as she said no one could see them and no one could hear them. Jeff steadied her and said they were here and everyone else was here, but they weren't lined up right. Flight 237's passengers clustered together, surrounded by people walking through them. Some pounded on walls, fists phasing through. Others tried to grab phones, hands passing through screens. An elderly man sat praying silently. Kathleen walked to the window. Her reflection was faint, half erased. Jeff's face beside hers glitched for a moment, 2 versions misaligned. Outside, planes taxied normally. Life moved on. The intercom crackled with a warped voice calling Flight 237, announcing it was now arriving, the gate number dissolving into static. Jeff swallowed hard and asked, arriving where? Kathleen stared at the glass, at the world moving without them, and said, not here. Flight 237 had landed, just not in the same dimension as everyone else. The invitation arrived in a plain black envelope, sealed with dark red wax and no return address. It offered a single challenge. Spend 1 night inside the abandoned Randall Mansion, hidden deep in the Deadwater Pines, a stretch of forest so quiet, locals said even the wind refused to pass through it. The reward was a fortune. The cost was unstated. 10 strangers accepted. Some came for money, some came for redemption. Some came because they had nothing left to lose. The mansion rose from the trees like a forgotten monument, its stone walls streaked with age, its tall windows fogged from the inside as if something breathed behind them. The iron gates opened on their own, groaning like a warning. Inside, the air was cold and stale. Portraits of long-dead judges and soldiers lined the foyer, their eyes gleaming with a damp sheen that seemed to follow every movement. The chandeliers flickered to life with a sickly yellow glow, casting long, trembling shadows across the marble floor. Among the guests were a disgraced detective, a fading actress with a violent past, a corrupt banker, a nurse who had let a patient die, a gambler drowning in debt, a surgeon hiding a fatal mistake, a greedy heir, a quiet young woman with an unreadable smile, an aging scholar obsessed with occult texts, and Father Samuel Kane, a priest whose faith had been eroded by personal tragedy. Each carried sins no one else knew. Each hoped the money might bury them. The moment the last guest stepped inside, the heavy doors slammed shut. Locks clicked on their own. Outside, the forest moaned as if welcoming prey. At first, they tried to treat it like a game. They explored the ballroom where dust lay thick as snow, the library where books sagged on their shelves like exhausted witnesses, the conservatory where vines pressed against the glass like restless fingers. But every window was nailed shut, every door sealed, and the clocks had no hands. Still, they tried to laugh, tried to pretend they weren't trapped, tried to ignore the feeling that the house was listening. When an unseen bell chimed midnight, the laughter died. A scream tore through the halls. They found the banker in the wine cellar, black veins crawling up his throat as if something had poisoned him from the inside. No one had entered or left. No door had opened. Panic spread like wildfire. Whispers drifted through the vents, naming sins no one had confessed. The portraits seemed to lean forward. The air thickened with an invisible hunger. The actress claimed she heard her dead lover calling from the attic. The surgeon saw blood blooming on his hands no matter how hard he scrubbed. The scholar woke screaming from dreams of burning courts and endless judgment. The house wasn't just haunted, it was peeling them open. Then the deaths resumed. The actress vanished in the music room, leaving behind a trail of black feathers from her dress. The nurse was found hanging upside down in the conservatory, her eyes frozen in glassy terror. The gambler turned to ash, his playing cards scattered in a perfect circle. Each death mirrored the victim's hidden crime. Father Kane recognized the pattern. Years earlier, he had studied the legend of Judge Randall, the mansion's original owner, a man who claimed no sin escaped his judgment. Rumors said he bargained with something unholy, trading his soul for the power to punish the guilty forever. Kane realized the truth. The judge wasn't dead. He was inside one of them. The priest gathered the survivors, the detective, the heir, the young woman, and the trembling scholar in the crumbling chapel. As Kane began an exorcism, the young woman convulsed, her eyes rolling back until only darkness remained. Judge Randall's voice poured from her throat, cold and triumphant. He offered freedom from guilt in exchange for a single, willing soul. Kane refused. He pressed his crucifix to her forehead as invisible claws tore at his skin. The chandeliers burst, the walls shook. A scream ripped through the chapel, not human, not earthly. "Your judgment ends tonight," Kane said. A blinding light erupted. The mansion roared like a living beast. Then silence. When the survivors opened their eyes, the young woman lay unconscious but alive. Father Kane was gone, a faint smile frozen on his face. Only a single silver coin remained where he fell, engraved with Latin meaning the end of judgment. At dawn, the doors creaked open. The survivors fled down the overgrown path. But as the detective looked back, he swore he saw the shattered windows slowly repairing themselves. And somewhere deep inside the Randall Mansion, a bell began to chime again, promising the cycle was far from over.
Most folks around here don't think twice about an old diner sitting on the side of a Texas highway. Neon buzzing, bugs dancing in the light, coffee that tastes like burnt dirt. But this place has a secret. My name's Mara. I've been working the late shift at Redbird Diner for 5 years. And every night, right around 11:11, that old jukebox in the corner plays a song nobody picked, a song that ain't even listed. It starts soft, like it's drifting up from under the floorboards, slow, lonely, like something humming to itself in the dark. First time it happened, I figured it was just old wiring. This place is older than my grandma's lies. But then the lights flickered, the air got heavy, and when I looked out the window, the highway was empty. Not quiet, empty, like the world stepped out for a minute. I walked outside and the sky looked wrong. Too still, too dark. No wind, no crickets, no trucks rumbling down the road. Just silence thick enough to choke on. I hurried back inside, and the moment the song stopped, everything snapped back. Cars, wind, life, like nothing ever happened. I should have left it alone. But curiosity out here is like a stray dog. You feed it once, it keeps coming back. So the next night, I tried something. I pressed the blank slot the song always came from. Soon as it started, the world shifted again. Same heavy air, same dead silence, same empty highway stretching out like a black ribbon. But this time, I saw something moving out there. Shadows, tall, thin, walking wrong, like their bones were put together by someone guessing at the shape of a person. I ducked behind the counter and held my breath. One of them brushed against the diner windows. Long fingers tapped the glass, slow, like it was trying to remember what windows were. When the song ended, they vanished. A few nights later, I found a newspaper slid under the door. The date was 6 years ahead. The headline was torn, but one part was clear. Spreads faster than expected. Below it was a picture of the diner, boarded up, abandoned, claw marks on the door. I tried to tell myself it was a prank, but then Dale, one of our regular truckers, wandered in while the song was playing. Before I could stop him, he stepped outside. He didn't come back. I heard him scream somewhere down the highway, but I couldn't see him. Only those shadows, moving faster now. Next time I slipped into the future, the diner looked different. Dust everywhere, lights dead, and carved into the counter, right where I always set the coffee pot, were 3 words. Don't leave again. The jukebox screen flickered. The blank slot wasn't blank anymore. It said, "Welcome home, Mara." I tried to go back, tried to hit the button, but the jukebox wouldn't play. The switch was stuck. The lights wouldn't turn on. And outside, those shadows were gathering at the windows. That's when I realized something. The future didn't happen to this diner. This diner is causing it. And now, it wants me to stay.